Hello everyone! So, today is Funky Friday. Friday. Anyway, it's Funky Friday. So, we're going to talk about something funky. It's not really that funky. Yeah, I'm being a weirdo. It's pretty funny. So, before I get started, I was watching a Mikey Balls fishing video yesterday. Yes, Mikey Balls. If you have not checked him out, check him out. He's a cool dude. It's one of the only fishing channels I like anymore. What was that? Ooh, YouTube comment. I'll respond later. But yeah, really cool dude. Whatever. But it was funny, on his video someone commented, I love how you just talk real, and people, like a lot of YouTube fishermen are all blah, 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 whatever, and it kind of made me laugh. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of like that sometimes, but I usually start my videos with hello everyone, or hello everyone, whatever, normally what mood I'm in. And today I'm in a good mood, but how I talk to you guys, or really I'm talking to this silly camera over here, but you guys behind it, I'm finally kind of getting used to that, talking to this camera. But how I talk to you guys is how I talk to everyone. It's how I talk to my wife, it's how I talk to my family, whatever. That's just who I am. I'm a goofball. And sometimes I'm a little pissy. That's just me. The only person I don't talk to normally is the dog. I talk to her like, hello, what's up, doggy? Yeah, so. But everyone else, it's all normal. I don't bullcrap you, I don't do anything like that. But I just thought it was funny, because there are a lot of people that are just ridiculous. And also say stupid crap. Anyway, which, not saying I don't say stupid crap, but I'm giving you my opinions. Anyway, just throwing that out there. Funky Fridays. Hey, it's funky. I figured what better thing, like what better first Funky Friday than talk about the rods that I use. Because it's now been a year and a half, like a year and a half that I started using these rods, and it's probably the most commented thing on every video is, what's wrong with that rod? Is that a two-piece rod? You didn't put it back together right? Or you got a wonky guide on that rod, or whatever. It never fails. I get one comment for it, and I always talk about it. I've also made videos about it before, but it never fails, and it is funky. They look goofy, they look funky, so I figured I would talk about them and tell you why I pretty much exclusively use these rods now. Actually, I do. There's one rod in my normal rotation of like 8 rods that I have. There's one rod that's not a spiral wrapped rod, and I just use that because I really like the action on that rod for that specific bait, even though I'm sure there's a spiral wrapped rod from this company that would fit that. I just haven't tried it yet, so I keep using that same rod. But anyway, every other rod that I use is spiral wrapped. Every other casting rod. Okay. Spinning rod, that's totally different. That's not the same thing. Totally different. None of this applies. Okay. So, but for casting rods, a spiral wrapped rod is so much better. As soon as I used one, I was just like, what the heck? Like, everything is better with this thing. So, let's just get to it. What one do I want here? This is actually the top water one. And the other ones have jackets on them. I don't know. I just brought a couple in here. Like I have one. They're all different actions for different baits. This is my jig rod, or one of my jig rods, flipping, pitching jig rods. I actually have a couple of these. I have a couple top waters, and I have a couple chatterbait rods, and I actually have one specifically for crankbaits, shallow crankbaits right now, which I still haven't tried yet. But anyway, they're all different actions, but what we're talking about is the guides on them, which are all the same. So, spiral wrapped rods. Okay, let's see if we can do this. So, your general casting rods are going to start just here, straight off your guide, straight down the blank of that rod, and that's it. All the way to the tip, you just have a straight line. Spiral wrapped rods, this first one, and everyone's a little bit different. Every company is kind of different. But this is how these are. Okay, these are Spiralite Maverick rods, and that's what I use. I like the Spiralite brand. There are a couple other companies out there that charge a lot of money for this spiral wrap, and I think that's why people haven't tried them yet. But the Spiralite rods are actually really cheap. Their most expensive rod, I think now, they changed the names kind of during the winter, but I still think their Rogue series is the most expensive one, if I remember. If not, that's fine. I still just buy the cheaper ones. These are 100 to 120 depending on the weight and action of the rod for the Maverick. That's their cheaper one, and I love them. The grips and everything are awesome on them too. My buddy Joe has a Rogue, their expensive one, but even their most expensive one is $200 to $220. So $100 more, whatever. It's a little lighter. It's more expensive. It's a little lighter. Feels a little nice. I really don't feel a whole lot of difference in them, but it is a little bit different and a little bit more comfortable. I will say that. But these things, I don't even care. Like, this cheap version, the Maverick, is so freaking comfortable and light, weighs absolutely nothing, and they're amazing. Now, anyway, let's get back to what they're... So, the guides on a regular casting rod are just straight down the blank, right? All the way to the tip, just a straight line from your reel all the way down. Here you go, there's that first one. It's lined up perfectly. That's just to feed through. Next one, look how weird that is. And then the next one, look how weird that is. And then the next one, look how weird that is. And then the rest of them are even more slightly off and all the way through the bottom of the rod. So when you're holding the rod like you normally are, it starts there at the top and then works its way around to the bottom of the rod, and the last 5 guides are on the bottom of the rod instead of the top. And so you're like, oh, that's just funky. It doesn't really mean anything. False. So, what it does is a couple different things. Number one, casting, way better. Because automatically when you're casting, that line is coming out of your spool like this, right? Alright? So, instead of it fighting the guides to stay in those straight guides and just fighting that edge, it's just kind of naturally wrapping itself out of that reel instead and straightening out. So you get better casting that way. The other thing is when you're putting your guides straight in a straight line right through that blank, you're putting pressure on that side of the blank, like bad. Okay? So you're working a lot in one specific spot of that blank, and it's putting so much stress on that rod. It's how rods just wear out quicker. They're really uncomfortable, whatever. Like it's not right. It's the same thing when that line is fighting against that guide, whatever. When you have it bowed up, and it's putting too much stress on those guides and that rod in general. The last thing is that you're also putting more stress on your hands when you're fighting a fish with all those guides there, with the spiral wrapped going back down through the bottom and it easing that line through those guides and everything. It's actually a lot less stress on your hands fighting a fish. You're actually using that rod a lot better to fight that fish instead of constantly using your arms. So that's why I love these rods. And I can say this until the cows come home and people are just like, oh no, it's just a goofy gimmick, whatever. Maybe, but it's really not. When I have used these rods, when I switched over from using a very nice $200 rod that was nice and I really liked it, and I still use it for jerkbait, so it's actually still my jerkbait rod. But went from that, and then also just all these years of using different rods and all that. Went to that one and felt the difference right away. I was like, wow, this thing's really, really nice. And I just love them. Also, with that less stretch of stress on the rod, I've talked about this when I talked about these in the past when I made a whole video on them. Actually, all this I have, but no one really watched it. Actually, a lot of people watched it, but no, nobody really watched it. That's me joking around. So I'm just saying it all again, making another video on it. But with that less stress on that rod, it's easier to get a really good hook set when you get a bite. And also, they are more sensitive, alright? Because your line's going around that whole rod, which gives it more feel around that whole rod than when it's just straight through and you're only touching the guides. Like, I mean, here you're only technically touching the guides, but it's circling around the whole rod and getting into the perfect spot where that real feel in that blank is. It's more sensitive. It casts 100 times better than a conventional, and it's better to fight a fish with it. There's no downsides to it. Okay. You try one and you'll automatically know. You make one cast with it and you're like, holy crap, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Tired of talking about it? Not really. I mean, I'm not tired of it. Like, if someone comments and I'm like, that's stupid piece, like, no, I don't care. And I still like commenting like, no dude, it's a Spiralite Maverick. I love these spiral wrapped rods. But at the same time I'm like, dang, people don't know about this stuff yet? Like, you need to check them out. It's the way to go. I use conventional casting rods on a couple of my rods that I use, but for 80% of them, actually it is 80% of them, I use these, and there is a reason why. It's just so much better. So I can't stress enough, if you're looking into buying a new casting rod, check out a spiral wrapped rod. I don't say it has to be Spiralite. I'm not saying that. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't freaking know them from Adam, and I don't care if you buy theirs or not. Okay? But Spiralite, call me. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I don't know them. It's just, they're awesome, so I use them. And there's a couple others out there. Theirs are also cheaper for those spiral wrapped rods or acid wrapped rods. You might find them like that too. Long story, whatever. Check them out and get one and join the revolution. I don't know what the hell I'm saying, but join whatever. I'm joining the cult. I don't freaking care. Just try them and you'll love them. They're awesome. You'll get hooked on them just like I did. So those are the rods that I use. So when you're watching the videos of me catching slaunch donkeys, yeah, you might go, what the hell's wrong with this rod? And then remember, oh yeah, it's a spiral wrapped. I should probably look into that, because he caught that slaunch donkey no problem. Just kidding. I'm joking. Hopefully can get out there and catch him soon, and that will be the next video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.